So I have been hearing a lot of buzz about GitHub's latest move into the terminal coding space, and honestly, I had to check this out for myself. GitHub just dropped their Copilot CLI tool in public preview, and it's basically their answer to all other coding agents that have been popping up everywhere recently. Alright, so let me be straight with you from the start. I have been using these various AI coding tools for months now. I mean, we already have Claude Code, we have Cursor, we have all these different options. So why would GitHub think they need to jump into this space? But after spending some time with it, I actually think they might be onto something here. The thing that caught my attention right away is how GitHub is positioning this. They are not just throwing another AI assistant at us, they are integrating it directly with their entire ecosystem. So when you are working in the terminal with Copilot CLI, you are not just getting code suggestions, you are getting access to your repositories, your issues, your pull requests, all of that GitHub context that other tools simply don't have. Now before we dive into the actual demo, let me talk about what this tool actually is. GitHub Copilot CLI brings that same coding agent that power Copilot in VS Code directly into your command line. The idea is pretty simple but powerful. Instead of switching between your terminal and your IDE constantly, you can just stay in the terminal and have this AI assistant help you build, debug, and deploy your projects. The setup process is super simple. You need Node.js version 22 or above installed. The installation is just one npm command and you are ready to go. Officially, GitHub Copilot is supposed to work with their paid plans, starting at $10 a month for the pro tier. But since it's still in public preview, I have been using it without any subscription and it's been working perfectly fine. I don't know if this is intentional or if they are just being generous during the preview period, but right now you can basically test it out for free because when they first launched the Copilot in VS Code, it was also free for some time. The model that powers this is Claude Sonnet by default, which is honestly one of the best coding models, but you can actually switch it to other models using environment variables. I have seen people mention that GPT-5 integration is coming soon, which could be a game changer. Now let me show you what the actual experience looks like. When you run the Copilot command, you get this clean interface that feels familiar if you have used other terminal-based coding agents. There are slash commands for different functions like adding directories to your workspaces, connecting to MCP server, and managing your authentications. One thing I really appreciate is the directory management. You can use the add directory command to specify exactly which part of your project you want to agent to have access to. So if you are working on a large project and you only want to focus on the front end part, you can just add that specific folder. This is actually really smart from a security and performance perspective. The GitHub integration is where this tool really shines. Since it's authenticated with your GitHub account automatically, it can understand the context of your repositories in a way that other tools simply can't. It knows about your recent commits, your open issues, your pull request. All of that information feeds into its understanding of what you are trying to accomplish. Now let me actually test this thing with a real project. I am going to ask it to help me build something that I think will showcase its capabilities pretty well. I want to create an online image editor using React.js. This is the kind of project that require multiple components, data handling, and some styling works. So I am going to type my request and see what happens. I will ask it to create an image editor app using React.js. This should give us a good sense of how well it handles complex multi-part projects. Alright, so it's starting to work and I can see it's using Claude Sonnet as the underlying model. What's interesting is how it's approaching this project. Instead of just dumping a bunch of code on me, it's actually thinking through the process. It's asking about the project structure, what framework I want to use, and how I want to handle the data layers. This is actually pretty different from some other tools I have used that just start generating code immediately. The planning phase here feels more collaborative, which I really like. It's creating a proper React project structure with components, utilities, and even thinking about state management. One thing I am noticing is how it handles the interactive shell commands. When it runs something like create React app, it can actually interact with those prompts that usually require user input. It's using these read bash and write bash tools that seems to be specific to Copilot CLI. I have not seen this functionality in other terminal coding agents, and it's actually working really smoothly. The project structure it's creating looks pretty professional. We have got a component directory, separate files, a utility folder for data processing, and it's even setting up some basic styling for CSS modules. This is the kind of project organization that would typically take me a while to think through and set up manually. What I am really impressed with is how it handles the different aspects of this project simultaneously. It's not just writing code, it's thinking about the user experience, the data flow, the component architecture, all of these things that would normally require a lot of back and forth communication with a human developer. Let me check the actual application now. I will just run npm start and see what we get. Alright, so the application is loading, and honestly, this looks pretty good for something that was generated entirely through terminal command. We have got a clean interface with different sections for editing the image. Let's upload an image and try to edit it using this app. You can see there are so many options which we can do, such as filter, crop and replace, adjustment, and transform. What really cool is that all of these are working perfectly. Now let me compare this experience to some of the other coding agents I have used recently. In terms of coding quality, I would say Copilot CLI is definitely competitive. The code it generates is clean, well structured, and follows modern best practices. The architecture decisions are sensible, and the component organization makes sense. Where it really stands out is in the GitHub integration and project management aspects, because it has direct access to your GitHub context. It can make decisions that are informed by your actual development workflow. It understands your coding patterns, your repository structure, and your collaboration history in a ways that other tools simply can't. The debugging and refactoring capabilities are also quite strong. It does not just suggest fixes, it helps you understand that underlying issues and explain the reasoning behind its suggestions. This educational aspect is really valuable for developers who want to improve their skills while getting things done. However, I will say that it's not perfect. There are times when it's over-engineering solution or makes assumptions that don't align with what you are actually trying to accomplish. The execution speed can also be slower compared to some other tools, especially when it's doing a lot of analysis and planning before generating code. From a performance standout, I would probably rank it somewhere in the top 3 coding agents that I have used extensively. It's definitely better than some of the earlier tools in this space, but there are still areas where other solutions might have an edge, depending on your specific use cases. The pricing model is something to keep an eye on as well. Right now, the fact that it's working without a subscription during the preview period, it's great for testing and evaluation. But once they start enforcing the $10 monthly fee, you will need to consider whether the GitHub integration and specific features justify the cost compared to other options. For developers who are just getting started with AI coding tools, this might actually be a good entry point because of how it handles permissions and explanations. It's less likely to do something unexpected compared to some more autonomous tools, which can be reassuring when you are still learning how to work with AI assistants. If you are curious about trying it out, I would recommend doing it sooner rather than later, while it's still working without a subscription requirement. Even if you end up preferring other tools, understanding how GitHub's approach differs can help you make better decisions about your development toolkit. That's my take on GitHub Copilot CLI after putting it through its paces with real projects and comparing it to other tools in this rapidly evolving space. If you found this helpful, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about your experience and how it compares to whatever you are currently using. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.